my name's Helen, and today I'm here with my May wrap-up. And this is going to be a pretty quick and simple wrap-up because basically for the whole month, I just read a single book series. And that book series is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. Obviously, the first book that I read this month was City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, and this was a reread for me, but I haven't read it in 6 years. So it was like reading it over again for the first time. And it was so interesting to dive back into this world of Shadowhunters in the initial way that I got introduced to it. And I discovered that I don't like it now as much as I used to, but I still really enjoy it and I find it to be a lot of fun. And this book I ended up giving 3.5 out of 5 stars. So right after I finished that, I ended up picking up City of Ashes, which is the only book I have that isn't in hardcover. This is book 2 in the Mortal Instruments series, and again, I haven't read this one in 6 years because I read City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass all within the same year. And I forgot how much I enjoyed this book. I definitely loved this one so much. It has so much more action, and we get introduced to much more of the story, because the first one has so much world building. And in this one, we're starting to know the world a little bit better. We're starting to know the characters a little bit better. And so things just kind of take off. And I love that as soon as this book kind of hits, you can start to see parallels to the Infernal Devices. Like, you can start seeing mentions of people or things or places that are all from the Infernal Devices, and that was one of the coolest things ever to me. And I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And of course, right after that, I picked up City of Glass, and this is the 3rd book in the Mortal Instruments series, and it's a decently chunky book. And I remember when I read these the first time, this was my favorite of the 3, and now I'm not sure if City of Ashes or this one is my favorite, because I love this one as a conclusion to the first 3 books, to their story arc. I think that this did a spectacular job, and oh my goodness, I still really like this one. But I found that I, again, didn't like it as much as I remember liking it when I first read it, and I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. And after that, I picked up City of Fallen Angels, which is book 4, and I read this when it first came out, so I think that would have been 2011? So I read this in 2011, I sat down and read it in an entire day, and I remember just absolutely hating it. I did not like this book at all the first time I read it. And this time, it was still my least favorite book going around, but I didn't dislike it as much as I did before, and even though it is the thinnest book out of all of them, it took me the longest to read. And I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. And finally, the last book that I actually read all the way through of in the month of May was City of Lost Souls, which again is a pretty chunky book, and this is the only book in the series I read this month which was not a reread. I had never read this book before. I'd been kind of holding off on buying it, hoping to get it cheap, and that ended up not happening, so I just finally caved in and bought it. And I'm really glad that I did, because some of the stuff that happened in this book just blows my mind. And it kind of renewed my love for this series, and it made me really, really want to read City of Heavenly Fire, which, if you've already seen my book haul, you know I got this month, so I'm going to be reading it really, really soon. And, oh, my feels for this book. I can't even describe. I gave this 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was right in that area. And those are the only 5 books that I finished reading this month, but while I was waiting to buy City of Heavenly Fire, I did begin reading The Dead Girls Detective Agency by Susie Cox, and I am, what is this thing doing? About a third of the way through. I am on page 99, and I don't really know how I feel about this yet because the premise of it is really interesting. The idea is that this girl named Charlotte is murdered. She's pushed under a train, but she wakes up in this hotel filled with dead girls, and they have to figure out who murdered her so that she can get the key to the door of the afterlife. And that whole idea is really, really cool to me but the main character's voice is so annoying and I hate it. And every time I read this book, I can only read 1 or 2 chapters before I have to put it down. And the chapters are so short in this after reading 5 Cassandra Clare books this month, where all the chapters are between like 20 and 35 pages on average. Reading a book where some of the chapters are only like 6 pages long is like a relief for my brain, but I just can't read more than 2 of them, which is heartbreaking. But I'm planning on finishing this and then diving into City of Heavenly Fire. So, yeah. So that's it. That is my wrap up. Have you read any of the books that I mentioned? I'm assuming a lot of you have. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear from you, especially with a lot of the Mortal Instruments books, because I really want to know what some of you think of them, particularly City of Lost Souls. Like, I really want to talk about this book right now. So, talk to me, please. Alright, that's it. I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!